Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I did get frustrated. I'm not gonna lie. I was just really stressed out during that event. So what I'm gonna be doing for next is that we're going to be running that story. We're gonna be running that main mission back, but this time with a better plan ahead.
Welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion, and as recording, Raptor's working on his birthday. But today itself is not his birthday. Although it'd be funny if you told him it's happy birthday. He's going to be confused and it'll be funny as shit. Either way, we are here joined by a wonderful guest.
Hello, my name is 1000vultures. I am the general and owner of the Resurrected Mercenaries, and it's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you as well. May I ask, what are you known for? As you said, the Resurrected Mercenaries. How did that get started, and what got you in a VR chat?
So, fun fact about that, I am not actually the founder of the Resurrected Mercenaries.
Hmm.
This roleplay actually came up out of the ether like 1 year before I actually came onto it.
Hmm.
But I was recently promoted to general, and now we're on the up and up, you know. But actually, the how this actually started was that some of the founding members actually met up at a Kmart and said, you know what, we're gonna make a group of mercenaries, and we're just gonna be really stupid with guns. And 2 years later, here we are.
Oh, wow. So, what got you in a VR chat, and how did you find the Resurrected Mercenaries?
So, basically, during the COVID era, I was basically not having a good time. Um, it led to like a lot of my problems actually coming out to where like I was like not functioning as like a person should be. Everybody was stuck inside, and I wanted to go see my friends. So I saw this clip on VRchat, and I'm just like, let's explore this. I see this on a Steam page. This is free. I wonder how much I could. I wonder what I could actually do with this,
Hmm.
and I learned a lot. Obviously, I saw some clips about the Ugandan Knuckles because that's what basically got people here into VR chat. But what made me stay is that I could actually talk to people and just not leave the comfort of my room. Obviously, COVID era is technically over. However, like I still love it here because I love the community. I love the people, and I get to talk to new people that I experienced before. Like one day you just go into like a black cat and just hear somebody sing and you befriend them. Hmm.
Wow. Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Keep on going.
But how I got into Mercenaries was that I used to be part of a group called the RP group,
Hmm.
where we basically just serve drinks. And then this little midget eedy weedy guy just walked up to me and be like, "Hey, you want to be gutted like a fish and sold for market? Oh, come. Oh, do you want to be a bounty?" And later to know that that was the one of the founding members. His name is Chibi. He was the guy that came up to me and just like, "Hey, do you want to do a bounty?" Because he saw my avatar and was just like, "Oh, that seems menacing." Um, so he offered me like he offered to do like a bounty, and we basically went into a forest world where I basically hunted them like fish. But eventually, they did get me in the end, and that's how I got into the Resurrected Mercenaries.
Wow. So I'm gonna ask you another question that may be rough. What was the starting days of the mercenaries like? Like, what were the events like, and how did they evolve over time?
Well, well, when it came to the early Resurrected Mercenaries, it was more like a bounty hunter group more than anything because we used to go to people, walk up to people like uh one of the founder did was basically just walk up to people like, "Hey, do you want to take a part of doing this bounty where we put a bounty on your head and then we basically do this entire role play fight thing?" And um for a little while, it was interesting because we didn't technically consider a role play group until we started doing events like I would say like 6 months later, where we started our very first like role play session,
Hmm.
and we started off from there. Literally, one of the first role play sessions was that we killed an eldritch being, and we went off from there.
Interesting. So, what Now, when you guys do your events and roleplay sessions, are they like planned out with a certain thing, or is it just like, here's a bounty, here's a thing, this is what we're gonna do today, and then it's a one-off?
Well, one of the things is that we're mostly heading towards the role play side of the community, where,
Hmm.
as you can see during Project Community, we actually reached out to a lot of like military sim role plays, and we started veering off from like how we started with like the bounty system, and slowly went towards like the role play side. So
Hmm.
so like early on, we basically took concepts like oh, we're gonna make this, it's gonna be this event, and it's gonna be made by this person, and we're all gonna do it. But now I'm having it to where we actually have lore attached to it.
Oh wow.
So it's a it's a struggle trying to write the lore with just one person, which is being me. But hopefully I can live up to the challenge.
Hmm. So
Hmm.
I'm curious about the Eldritch being roleplay that you mentioned earlier. What happened? What was the story?
Well, the story, so we have technically two versions of that story. For 2 years beforehand, we were basically just running on like whatever story that person submitted, because you had to be a staff sergeant and above at that time to actually make a story. It could be whatever you want. We can even be, I don't know, goobers fighting Darth Vader with like stormtroopers blasting all sides. But the current story as it is now is that we were contracted to go to Siberia, Russia, to handle some sort of event, some sort of activity going on there. And apparently there's this cult lurking around where they were doing some weird stuff. And we just happened to just stumble into a firefight with an Eldritch being that was just recently born. So that's how it actually started, both as our name, with the resurrected mercenaries, and with that Eldritch being. Because from the aftermath of that fight, after we killed it, we were able to get the power of resurrection.
Hmm. So would you mind explaining what is a resurrected mercenary? How'd you guys come up with the lore for yourselves? What is the lore for the resurrected mercenaries?
Well, the lore, it kind of still goes along with the original lore, where it's like out of character. Everybody did meet up in like a Kmart, and I wanted to like still have that, but have more people into it. It's like
Hmm.
we as like a group all have different, as we as characters have completely different backgrounds. One of my high command actually is a very rich individual. He just want to do it for giggles, and the and other people are like my gunnery sergeant Red Zero. He is basically in character a former police officer
Hmm.
who throughout the years suffered so many incidents to where 90% of his body is essentially robotics at this point, and he needs to make some money.
Ah.
So it's very much patchwork, but we all come together.
Okay. So does like each mercenary have their own story and lore, and you all under the same banner? Is that how that works?
Yeah, essentially yes, because this character, I'm still working out the kinks with her, but she's very much like a one-to-one of like my original self, with just a little bit of tweaks here and there.
Hmm. So what inspired your character mask? Now that we're on the topic of it.
So that's a little bit of a personal thing, but I'll still say it. Um, this character was actually inspired by these two plushies that I actually had when I was in a relationship with somebody. Uh, funny enough, their names were POC and WP, and we basically traded them off and on. And when after we broke up, I decided to turn those stuffed animals into actual characters to, like, vent out my feelings or just how I was feeling throughout the day. But they turned into their own people, and that's like a weird way. I'm proud of like what I've accomplished in like the 2 years I've been here at the RM.
Oh wow.
Like, imagine that. A guy can just come out of nowhere. A guy can just come out of nowhere in a bartending role play, and then 2 years from now become the general of a role play where you get to meet so many new people, like you, like people in project community, the milsim community, everybody. And I was scared. I was scared that I'm gonna mess up this group, but somehow it's still here.
It's kind of crazy how you can hop into VRchat one day and be taken on an adventure. It's so often we've heard a similar story. It's like, oh, I just got into work during COVID. I wanted to go to a rave, and then I met this DJ, and now I DJ and been to a real life club. It's the similar
Hmm.
story happens with a lot of people on VRchat, or they put on the headset expecting to have fun, maybe forget the day, or just enjoy themselves a bit, and then off they go on some journey doing something.
Hmm. Yeah, pretty much. Like I would have never dreamed of this place because as a kid, I had such a wild imagination. Like, and this is basically the closest thing I can get to, like, how would you say, painting my dreams, you know? As
Mm.
corny as that sounds.
No, it doesn't sound corny at all. This is the great place to live your dreams, quite literally.
Yeah.
Hmm. So I'm gonna ask you another question as well. What
Yeah.
what were some of your first events with the mercenaries, and what were you expecting going into the whole group, and how did your perspective change once you became in a position of leadership?
So one of my first events that I can actually remember was taking that idea of taking the idea of that eldritch being that we killed and actually applying that to uh our new power system, because during that time before my first event we just respawned. We just didn't care because it's usually like a 30-second respawn timer, and so it's like I looked at that idea and go, why do we come back? So I thought of it and just like, oh, basically we killed this eldritch being, it seeped into the ground, and now we basically have the power to resurrect. That didn't come in until my very first event called final. It's like final judgments, where we
Hmm.
take. It's like we ask ourselves, where did that being come from, and what are the consequences for slaying an eldritch being? So the idea was that, oh, what if we bring consequences to this slaying of this eldritch god? Which brings me to the adjudicator. The adjudicator is essentially a cosmic judge who basically deems worlds whether or not they're innocent, whether they're not guilty or guilty. And the RM is very much guilty of destroying this eldritch being. So basically, she hunted them. She's basically going on a warpath to hunt them down.
Hmm.
And that's where like the concept of we have the power to resurrect came from, and the consequences for that for basically breaking the universe, essentially, where because our power system isn't exact we don't exactly resurrect. We essentially break the universe in order to rewrite, excuse me, that event from actually happening. We don't
Hmm.
actually die. It's just we force the universe to say no, that didn't happen.
Interesting. So
Mm.
from those beginning events that you've told us about, has your view of the group or how you interact with VRChat changed once you've entered like the more of a leadership position within the group? Did there like how you see the whole thing change at all from being a role player and an enjoyer to someone who runs it?
Um, Definitely. Like, I let me put this. It's one thing to actually be a part of the group. It's another thing to actually run it, because there was a lot of challenges at the beginning when I basically took over. Like, I had to like essentially make tougher calls that sometimes I don't feel good about, because I like being the person that's in the middle and tries to like come up with a happy middle ground, but sometimes that's just not the case. Um while I would say like my perspective on it is that I went from okay, this is a fun roleplay group to these are my family, you know, and I'm pretty sure everybody else who essentially runs a group can actually say the same thing where you just feel like home with these people. Like all like these are where this is where my family lives, and I am basically the one steering the ship.
Hmm. So
Mm.
you mentioned earlier going from being someone who wants to go down the middle to someone who has to make tough calls. Was that some of the harder things you had to do within the group? How did you overcome that kind of situation?
I essentially had to buckle down and just say I had to close my eyes and just say I have to do what's right for the group. And I may feel terrible that I had to make this decision, but it's for the best that I had to do it because if I don't, something worse is gonna happen.
Hmm.
Like
I understand.
it's not easy. Like I feel like even you have to make some tough calls when it comes to like your group.
Mm. Yeah, there are many occasions in which you have to kind of sit down and look at a situation and think, will this benefit everyone or will this not? Though you also have to treat it very carefully and kindly as well. You can't just like, bang, hammer, gone. Though at the exact same
Yeah.
point, the situation you're in, all people involved are still people, so you got to treat them as such. Though also you also have to understand at points when you're running a larger group, the group is just as important. In fact, more if you want it to exist. So I very much understand the situation, or what I assume is the situation is.
Yeah.
Hmm. Don't beat yourself up over it. You did what you could. That's the best anyone can do.
Yeah.
Hmm. So, what have been some
Mhm.
of your favorite moments or events with the group, and why?
There are just certain points during the ARM's history where I can pick out like some events, like it's like some events are like similar in style, where just like we have to basically go to like this I don't know, this foreign country or like this town and basically just like beat up some bad guys or whatever. But then there are some that are just fantastic. Um, uh, some like one of my lieutenants, his name is Johnny. I think he accidentally do this because he is not the kind of person who just thinks about these certain things, but
Hmm.
he sometimes comes up with genius events where we will basically be going down like the 9 circles of hell, and he's basically still 16. And I'm just thinking this is fantastic. We are basically going down the like Dante's Inferno style endeavor, and he basically does it without even thinking about it, and I'm just like, that's fantastic writing, Johnny. That's amazing. He's also like a fantastic photographer. And then there are some other events that like personally I've created where we before I started coming up with a lore, I had to basically come up with a way of like rewriting the entire two years that we've been doing it without lore. So
Hmm.
what it was essentially happened is that for whatever reason, for one or another, the Earth is technically dead. So it's like the adjudicator was said, you know what, enough of it. I'm just gonna basically blow up the Earth. And being a cosmic deity, she does that, and we basically get sent into our own pocket dimension where we basically have to go through the trials within our own pocket dimension, which
Hmm.
I essentially layered it as like two things simultaneously. It was basically the 5 stages of grief as well as the samsara cycle. So if people don't know, the samsara cycle, I basically just loosely based off it. If you've seen like the 6 paths of pain, they're basically based off that, where people will basically go through cycles and cycles of reincarnation until they hit what was it, nirvana.
Ah. So,
Hmm.
what are these? What is the cycles of trials mask, or anything, or at least explain the ones that you've experienced so far? What is the what is the point of the group going through those?
the point of the group going through those is essentially that entire event was just a love letter to every single thing that that we've done inside the RM, from fighting like the people like the Combine. I don't know much about Half-Life, so you have to forgive me. To fighting, to basically overcoming depression. It's a way of like pushing through all this, and no matter how much time goes by, you'll eventually make it on top, and you'll probably have to restart something new. You'll have to start off from scratch, but it's just a way of saying, I love this place, I love it for what it stands for,
Hmm.
but we have to dig deeper into our roots and just go beyond what we've been doing. Because for the most part, we've been just like a small time group, and thanks to Project Community, we were able to exceed our numbers that I've never thought of before. Like, imagine having roughly like 30 people just like having a full blown conversation like it's a cafeteria in a high school. That's what it sounded like, and I was astonished. It was obviously it was laggy and people started crashing, but you know what? We're making adjustments. We're going beyond what we were from like a small like community, which was like 10 to 12 people. Now we're going to like roughly 40, and I'm like, oh no.
Was this your first year at Project Community?
Yes, it actually was my first year at Project Community. I, for whatever reason, was not able to attend last year's, but I was thoroughly surprised at how many people I actually connected to. From the people from, I believe I ran into some Ruby role players, to some people we've met before, like the people at Fort Victoria, who essentially run, I would say, like a find me kind of group, where it's just like, if you're in a mill sim, you can just like post your stuff over here, and you can use our base as like a military training ground.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay. Now, was the group itself in years prior, or is this the group's first as well?
Wait, excuse me?
Well, was the Mercenaries in years prior, or are they the group's first time at PJKT as well?
Well, last year we were officially at Project Community, but like 2 years before that, we were just basically be like, hey, do you want to join our silly goober group? Just like at like a random corner, it's just like, hey, join our silly goober group. We got guns. We got whatever this is. Join us. So it was like a unofficial kind of like, yes, technically we were at Project Community, but like we weren't representing ourselves. But for the past 2 years, it's been really good for us.
Okay.
Hmm.
So since you guys started leaning into the role play and changing the events to have a point, what were those events like compared to the ones prior? What was the first like story event?
Well, that's the thing. We tried starting our roleplay event, but I think we had so many like newer people that like people didn't understand that we had P's and Q's when it comes to role playing. So things like quieting during like story events, NPCs, things like that. People often rushed and had that FPS mentality, that like they just rushed off to wherever they could go instead of sticking to their squad lead. That became a I don't know how to also describe it, but other than disaster. So we're basically doing that story again, so I can take my time and just build up to what I'm leading to. Because the first arc is actually very interesting. The first arc actually involves that same cult that summoned the primordial being.
Oh.
It's going to be a month later after we kill the primordial being, and they're gonna go on like a war path, essentially, just ransacking towns, looking for something. What are they looking for? Why is there propaganda in this small Texas town?
Hmm. Okay. So with this story of the promoter being in the cult, what inspired it to begin with? Like what brought it to be? Are you enjoying the episode you're watching so far? Then feel free to check out the rest of the stuff we have over here in the Metaverse Degen network. We have other interviews from everyone from Vrchat staff to VCAT and PJKT. We talked with world builders and creators. So if you want to learn more about VR and VRchat, check it out. Also, we have a actual play podcast, Hold My L, which honestly we're just a bunch of idiots rolling dice. So if you like that kind of thing, feel free to come hang out with us over there. And if you should find any of their socials and stuff, you can go on metaversedegen.card.co. Over on Patreon, we actually started putting the pre-show content for Hold My Ale, which we talk about before the show, and as we all kind of start funneling into the world, getting ready. So if you want to go see that as well, feel free to go to our Patreon, which we have a few people already subscribed. We'd like to give a special thanks to Frozen, Future Oracle, Aliquum, Niche, and Forbidden Zero. Thank you very much. Funny little hint, Forbidden Zero is also the DM.
So this dates back to the very first event where there was also a cult that was summoning this thing. So essentially, it's just a callback, but I'm expanding the cult's activities. In the very first event, they were a small group, but now they're a force to be reckoned with. They're actually taking over certain areas and just claiming it as their own.
Wow. Oh. And another question I have for you as well, as you mentioned before, dealing with a bunch of people not used to role playing, I guess, as you said, the role playing P's and Q's. How did you handle the situation? What was it like going into that kind of experience? Something where you're not used to with it.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I did get frustrated. I'm not gonna lie. I was just really stressed out during that event. So what I'm gonna be doing for next is that we're going to be running that story. We're gonna be running that main mission back, but this time with a better plan ahead. And in addition to that, we're actually going to on top of the event that we're going to be redoing, we're going to be jumping into the next operation afterwards. So it continues the story, if you will.
Okay. Well, I wish you the best of luck in terms of running that, and I hope it goes flawlessly the next time.
Yeah.
Oh. Now, with that being said, if you're going to look back at the events that have taken place, are you happy with the direction things are going from the silly goober group to where you are now?
I always love being the silly goober group. A lot of the events have been hit or miss, but even the misses I still love because it's just a means of trying to be in role play with everybody, Like sometimes even misses can have hits, sometimes we're just invading a star destroyer for one mission, and then we're basically fighting Darth Vader in another. Yeah, it's basically just taken from Star Wars, but I'm still gonna enjoy it while I'm here.
That's very understandable. Now, during the days in which people would create their own stories, were there any ones that you remember or like from those days?
On I'm gonna be completely honest. I have terrible memory. Um, huh. I'll probably have to get back to you on that one because I'm really blanking.
It's hard. It happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, was this group your first ever time role playing with anybody, or did you have any experience outside of the Mercenaries role playing before?
Well, the main exposure I've had to role plays was mostly in in text role play. So I've been doing role play ever since I was 16, and I was fascinated with the beauty when it comes to writing because writing was for me was the only thing I could actually be good at, People had music, other people had art, some people, I don't know, juggled. But for me, I love describing things to its finest detail, even if my brain can't catch up to itself, Like I can describe this place piece by piece by piece, but sometimes my brain is just like, we're gonna be jumbled today. I always say is that when I write, I write it because I'm incredibly passionate about it, and even now, even when I'm swamped with this place, I still have time to like make like characters and stuff.
Hmm. Oh, well, I hope you continue to enjoy the experience with roleplay here in VRChat. Um,
Mhm.
have you done any others? Have you tried joining any others, or you devoted your time entirely to the Mercenaries?
I used to be in like a couple roleplay groups, one of which being World Ends Apocalypse, when we actually have like an ex member that actually started World Ends Apocalypse, and they were and that roleplay was actually fun. You know, this it's quest compatible. You basically get to make your own survivor. And you basically has to have the option to do whatever you want within this city, as so long as like you are essentially fighting your own way to survival. Another roleplay, I would give credit to is the Mega Building 325, where over here we don't essentially do that much characterization or
Mm,
socialization, but in our partner Mega Building 325, we actually do have a lot of characterization during that roleplay because
mm,
it's mostly just us doing a security job, but there's other people outside of our little milsim group where we can just breathe and just talk to people and be our own characters.
mm. Oh, so another question I have is how many collaborations has you and the group done, and what were some of your favorites of them?
Oh, we've done like a couple of collaborations. First, as far as I can remember, was this mafia group called SYS. I'm not 100% sure like what their thing was. I just knew they were mafia, and then we were collaborating with like this group called Homeland Security or something like that. It was basically based on the agents from the Division.
Mm,
Unfortunately, those two are no longer functioning, but like I said, we still have our main partner, Mega Building 325, and we are also partnered with the group called Little Renegades. I'm pretty sure. I remember you did like an interview with Z2
yeah, we talked to
at one
Z2.
point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm,
Z2 is an awesome person. Oh,
yeah. Uh, but I think my favorite collaboration that we did was with this group called Stanfall. They were a group that was very much similar to us,
mm,
to where you basically you couldn't tell them except from like how serious of a tone they had for their role plays. But when they got into it, we got into it with them.
mm. What happened during the collaboration with them, I asked? What was the event like?
Their events were essentially more towards a style of we are basically a alternative history somewhere in the future where there was nuclear bombs were destroyed majority of the Earth, and
Mm,
this is the rest of how we survive. They were the Stanfall heresy, and they were fighting against a different group. I cannot for the life of me remember the enemy group, but their events were so much more character and military focused that like it made us basically look, not as organized, but I still had fun with them. I still remember fondly of like some of the events I did. I could not tell you the story, but I still had fun.
mm. What were some of the things that you could piece from the story from what you experienced with them?
uh I just remember one time we had to take like a boat, but the problem was that we were crossing the ocean, and the ocean is radioactive. And you know what map they chose to actually do the sinking of the boat? The Titanic. And I'm just like, oh no, somebody send help. I'm prepared for this. Rose, hold me.
Fair enough. So,
Yeah.
how long into the group was it till you guys started doing collaborations with other people?
Well, I think we did collaborations from the jump, uh but it's been really hard to actually find groups that we can collaborate with because there's on it's like two-way street. Like I want to help the group we're collaborating with, but they also got to help us. Obviously, two-way street. But they also had to like the best way I can describe it is pass the vibe check. Just like be just as silly as us, or be just as silly as us, or like if you're not as silly as us, at the very least, like be able to like embrace our sillier side. Just have a laugh, make a friend.
Okay. Now, another question I have is, if someone's joining you for the first time, what would they experience on the initiation, and how would one go up the ranks, and what would they expect with ranking up?
Okay, so essentially, how it all starts is that you join our Discord, Discord-RM-PMC, but I think the link might be changed. Don't quote me on that. But they basically just like go through Discord, and there should be a pop-up message that says sign up. You basically just be like, hey, I want to sign up for the RM-PMC. Through there, you become a recruit. When you become a recruit, you get sent to basic training. We have like multiple trainers actually working around the clock to make sure that you're in the best hands as much as possible. The basic training is essentially just us reading the rules and like you basically just following along with them. This is then followed up with a I guess you could say a red versus blue airsoft training style, just like we basically go from like one point of the map to the other, and we basically just say first hit you are basically out, and we go through that for 2 or 3 rounds, and then basic is complete. We are working on actually doing a training to where we can actually do like CQB training, hit training, and just medical training as well.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So let's say they go through the training, they're a recruit. What happens when they start ranking up? What would they expect? How does that work?
Yeah. So when you go through basic training, you automatically become a private first class. Oh god, stick drift. Okay, but it's not until you go to private first class is when you actually start doing your division work. Divisions are essentially like which which house in Hogwarts you're going to be picking. There are 4 main divisions and 1 subdivision. So the main divisions are Rose, Tesso, Boss, and Sold. While the supporting division is Medcore. You can probably tell from the name of like what exactly that's going to be.
So what are the other 4 that's besides Medcore? Would you mind explaining what those divisions are?
So let's actually start with my division, Rose baby. Rose division is what people would essentially call the glorified infantry group, but I assure you, like we basically get some of the cooler stuff. Like we have the ability to use weapons and other things like chemical gas, fire, and we're also a CQB group. So things such as these would be classified under Rose division. So we're more heavily trained to essentially be a infantry group, but we do war crimes in style. We are also the torture division. So no, excuse me, enhanced interrogation. That's what we're gonna call it.
Enhanced interrogation. Fair.
Yeah.
What about the other 3?
Yes. Next is the Soul division. They are more or less the hacker group. So if there's a machine or a computer nearby, they are more than likely to crack that baby like it's a watermelon on a summer evening. They are also the main foundation where we have classified as the Ironborn. The Ironborn are essentially robotic machines that have like ability to do like more hacking work, but they're also incredibly powerful. So like they're 100% machine. If you take down one, they're always going to keep bringing in more. They also have a subdivision within the Soul division. Sold, which is called RES. They are also the people that repair robotics. So in character, the only thing that they really need to patch up when it comes to RES would be my eyes, because in lore my eyes are robotic. Like the lore is that I was hit with some sort of chemical gas attack, and I was sorry, I had most of my lungs destroyed, and my eyes were basically gone. So
Hmm.
I'm able to actually see in night vision through my eyes.
Okay. Ooh.
Yep. Uh, so the other two divisions are Tesso, which is the tactical explosive and stealth. That's stealth optional. Basically, if you want stuff blown up, if you want to be a big juggernaut in the battlefield, that is the division for you. Obviously stealth is optional. However, I tend to see like a lot of people who like seeing things blow up mainly go for Tesso, either because they want to be a big juggernaut or just want to fire an RPG at people.
Okay. Ooh.
And the very last division is Boss. Boss is our Black Ops unit, so if you want to essentially go through like if you want to use like reflective camo, if you want to be if you want to use silencers or sniper rifles, if you don't want basically you don't want to be seen, uh that's Boss.
Okay. And where do the
Mhm.
names of each of these divisions come from? How do you guys like label them all the way they are?
They all have acronyms, but for the life of me, I cannot remember them except for Tesso, which I used to be a member of Tesso, so that's why I remember, and Rose, which is Reapers of Specialized Execution.
Hmm. Okay. Well, thank you for explaining all that. Now, I'm going to ask you another question as well. Looking back at your entire journey here in VRChat, did you expect any of it?
If- mhm.
Looking,
About me just being
yeah,
in like a PMC?
you the PMC as well as VRChat. Did you expect the journey you went on once you put on the plastic electric potato?
Plastic electric potato. That's definitely something I'm gonna be calling it now. Um, I never in my wildest dream actually thought, hey, you know, it's like you're gonna log into VR chat and you're gonna be in charge of like roughly 200 people, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Who are you? Get out of my house, you know? Um, but yeah, I never really would have thought that like I would be in charge of all this. And it's not even that. I have basically friends that I can count on to actually help run this group with me. Like I love all my high command and they all had the same enthusiasm of running this group with me. So I think that's beautiful.
Hmm. Now we'll ask the
Hmm.
last couple of questions before we wrap up. First of which is the name used in VRChat, where to come from, and why to use it.
Fun fact, I have two things about this username. So 1000vultures was the username for this guy that I kind of stole. I kind of stole his username. He wrote this creepypasta called Pen Pals, and at the time I was in high school. I loved that creepypasta so much because it just is essentially a story about this child who finds out more and more about this person that he's been incidentally been stalked his childhood life, but he didn't even connect the dots until later in his adult life. But there's a second story to that.
Hmm.
So when I so the game Ark Survival Evolved has this DLC where it's called Scorched Earth, and you're able to train vultures. So me and my buddy at the time were just like, hey, I'm gonna train up all these vultures and just like if a wyvern comes in, I want to see it. I want to see like these vultures kick the shit out of this wyvern, and they did. Like all 1,000 of them just squatted up and said, "You know what? I hate this wyvern," and they killed it. Sure, like I don't know, like 200, like no, 500 of them went down, and I was lagging like crazy, but like they still did it, and I'm just like, I'm gonna honor their memory. 1,000 vultures.
Oh, that's quite the story. Thank you for explaining it. And the avatar you're
Mhm.
in. Where did you get it? Why did you choose it? And is there anything about it that means anything to you?
Realistically, I chose this avatar because to me this was the most adult looking female I could actually get my hands on. But as I said before, this character and this avatar technically has like a personal history for me because it just means of saying that like I can be more than like what I was previously. And it has all my favorite weapons on it, from the bow, which I've always wanted to take archery as like a little child, to the very first gun I ever knew about, which was the AA-12.
Wow. Oh,
Hmm.
well, thank you very much for answering those. I know those could be an invasive question, but ever since I hopped in VRchat, I always was curious why do people represent themselves the way they do, why they choose the name, why the avatar, and I find it very interesting to learn. So thank you for explaining all that.
You're welcome.
Hmm.
More than happy to share.
Oh, and if anyone in the audience wishes to reach out and find you or join the group, where would they go?
You can find us at through the VRC directory within the groups. Just look up RM-PMC and you're gonna find us. There should be a Discord link within the group, so you can just start your journey from there. And who knows? Like literally, you can just be some random Joe Schmo from a bartending group and suddenly become general. So depending on like how your cards are full or how your cards are, maybe you too can be running this place.
Well, if you wish to join them, in the description below, for YouTube, if you scroll down, hit show more in the description, you see a section called guest links. We'll have everything for you to find 1000vultures as well as the Mercenaries right down there for you to click. If you're on Spotify, it's in the episode description. Same place, same label, so you won't miss it. And this is the point where I'll interact with the audience just a little bit. And I like to, there's a saying I use sometimes as you go through life, make sure you don't look at the ground too much, worrying about what's going to trip you over, because you'll miss the horizon, because the sun rises and sets, and it's a beautiful sight to see. Look at the horizon, make sure you know where you're going, but also don't focus too far on the horizon either, because you'll miss what's at your feet and what's around you. So you want to do both. Look at the horizon, smell the roses, enjoy the trip. With that being said, see you in the metaverse, folks.
Now my ear itches. Fucking bitch. I need a haircut. Fuck, I can't even get my hat on anymore. Yeah, don't you up? It'll be complicated. Up and up. Change the thing made in. And all that comes and tells me, hey, hey, hey. And more than shown me the same. And